Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here. Hello everyone, how are you all doing? I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to episode 85 of the Snowflake's Viewpoint, where we cover some of the latest news that is happening here in the UK. We are dual streaming live on youtube.com/Reganelite and on twitch.tv/Reganelite1. Happy New Year to everyone. Everyone here. How are you all doing? There's nobody talking in the chat. Are you guys there in the live YouTube chat? I can see there's people there. It seems like the usual people aren't turning up there, so normally they're there. That's a bit odd. I don't know why I don't know why the chat's not. Maybe people aren't just chatting anyway. Well, there is for those who just those who are lurking anyway. There is a chat goal for hosting a Q&A live stream I'll host a Q&A live stream this Friday if we do achieve that as well today as well. So looks like the Twitch chat just crashed as well. 1 second. That's I don't know why it crashed. That's very weird. Doesn't seem to want to play for some reason. That's a bit odd. Twitch chat seems to might be crashing 1 or 2 times there. Danky Demon Slayer, I'm not interested. Not interested at all. Please don't waste my time making those offers. I've had hundreds of people doing them, and 90% of those are scammers. Anyway, so don't even bother offering me that crap. Yeah, sorry guys, I'm just checking for some reason the Twitch stream is not coming up properly for some reason on here. I don't know why. But it looks like I can still see the Twitch chat anyway, just because somebody dropped some messages. Stephen Moran, good morning over in New Zealand. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Alright, well, I think some people might have gone to other places tonight, but that's fine. Anyway, let's get started. Just a reference as well for people who are lurking in the chat as well. After this live stream, I will be on Discord. So if you guys want to join the Discord community, you're more than welcome to do so. It's free. The link for it is in the description on the YouTube channel if you guys are interested as well. Right, so the first story I've got for you guys is from Sky News. And it's a bit of a rant one here. And I do really say it's a bit of a rant one because I generally believe there's one person responsible for this. So a man has been charged following reports of threats towards Jess Phillips, Sky News understands. So the message involves 3 victims, including the Birmingham Healey MP. So let me just read some of this first, guys. So, and then I'll explain why I'm covering this. So a man has been charged following the reports of threats towards Labour Safeguard Minister Jess Phillips, Sky News understands. Jack Bennett, 39, has been charged with 3 counts of malicious communication at Devon and Cornwall Police SIB. The messages were sent between April 2024 and January 2025, involving 3 victims, including the Birmingham Healey MP. And it's understood the accused from Sistine Devon was charged over the weekend. He has been bailed to appear before Exeter Magistrates Court on the 18th February 2025. Early on Monday, Prime Minister Keir Starmer spoke about a line being crossed regarding comments towards Ms Phillips and said that she had been receiving threats. Ms Phillips' brief involves focusing on tackling violence against women and girls and domestic violence. Labour MP has been a vocal campaigner on the subject. Yeah, the Twitch chat's not working. Sorry, guys. For those on Twitch, the chat is just not coming up, so I do apologise. Has been a vocal campaigner and has become known for reading out the list of all the women killed by men in the UK every year on International Women's Day in Parliament. She was appointed the ministerial position in July after Labour's general election win. She has previously had the role of shadow domestic violence and safeguarding minister from 2020 to 2023 after Sir Keir Starmer, but resigned over the party's stance on the Middle Eastern conflict. And this is a story that is still updating. So the reason why I'm bringing up this story here is... So recent comments made about Jess Phillips and her decision were painted a bigger target on her by one man and one man only, and that is Elon Musk. This is not the first time that she has had threats, and my concern is that her safeguard and well-being is under threat because of tweets that Elon Musk has made about her. Because of her decision not to call for a public inquiry on child abuse in Oldham, I believe it is. And when I saw this, I thought my first reaction was, of course, again, like already, but no, it is the same. It is the one that's already been about somebody who's been charged, but this is not the first time, and sadly, this is not going to be the last time that she's going to be targeted. Now, some people may argue that that she would get targeted anyway because she's a woman, because of her role, but I feel like more people are going to target her simply because of what Elon Musk has said. Because of him, because of his position, because he has a massive microphone, people listen to him, which is very problematic. I've muted him on Twitter, so I don't ever have to see it. But for others, it's not a very good sign. Clearly, it's clearly problematic, and it's very, very. It's frustrating because I feel like Labour doesn't want to do anything about it. And I was listening to Graham Hughes this morning on Morning Brew, and he thinks that Twitter should be banned from the UK. I disagree. I don't think it should be banned from the UK, but I do think there does need to be something needs to be done. But I don't think banning the social media platform outright is a solution. I understand that position. I understand that feeling, but I don't think that's the solution. But when you have him said the things that he said about Jess Phillips, you know, I was very much concerned about what kind of the response from that people would have, because people do jump on this bandwagon. You know, I think Elon Musk today has been off on a tangent with some of his tweets today I've seen, and we'll go across some of the other things that he's been saying recently as well. But I'm glad that someone's been charged, following reports of threats towards Jess Phillips. But I know she's been targeted. We know that Angela Rayner has been targeted as well, because of her role, and it's very concerning, to say the least. And all MPs' safety and priority matters, but it doesn't help when we have people outside the UK who literally don't know a damn thing about British politics, trying to push a narrative or push British politics a certain way to his or her satisfaction, while also endangering the lives of people. Because that's what I feel like. More people will be amplified to try and harm MPs, to go a certain way by some guy on the internet, and that's very concerning indeed. Jow, Ben Shaw, good evening, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Jow, good to see you there, buddy. Hope you're doing well. And MadMonk33, good to see you guys all. Just a reminder, guys, before we go into the next story, I will be doing Discord after chat. So if you guys want to join me for that, you're more than welcome to after the show. The next one I've got for you guys is from the BBC. So this is Starmer attacks those spreading lies on the grooming gang. So I didn't watch the full speech from Keir Starmer today, but I did watch the questions that he took from some of the media outlets with regards to the comments that made by Elon Musk. Some people have said that he's attacked Elon Musk. I wouldn't go that far. Like I said, I haven't watched the full speech, so maybe he did, in context of maybe some of you guys want to clarify anyway. But those who are spreading lies and misinformation is becoming the big problem. And something does need to be done about Elon Musk, because he's trying to interfere in British politics. He's trying to undermine try to undermine Britain in some way, shape, or form, and it just feels like he's becoming more of a problem for everyone. He's become a huge problem for Reform, which we'll get to later. He's become a massive headache for Labour, and for some reason the Conservatives are still thinking that they can grovel to him and hoping that he would give them a ton of money. He didn't name Musk. He didn't name Musk in his questions, really specifically attacking him, but talking about it in general, those who are spreading lies. And I think he was handling it I think on those questions he handled it pretty well, all things considered. But it is a major problem that needs to be addressed, that is for sure. So the Prime Minister has attacked politicians and activists spreading lies and misinformation over grooming gangs. I wonder which politicians he's referring to. Maybe one from Clacton, if he ever goes to Clacton. It comes after multi-billionaire Elon Musk accused Keir Starmer of being complicit in the rape of Britain. This is absolutely not true. This is a nonsense claim. during his tenure as Director of Public Prosecutions, DDP, between 2008 and 2013 for failing attacking grooming gangs. Again, like Musk does not know. He's just trying to put a needle into haystacks here. Alongside Musk's comments, senior Conservatives and Reform MPs have also spent the week calling for a national inquiry into child sexual exploitation. So I've looked into this a bit more since I've done my video on this. So there was inquiries on this. They have been gone through thoroughly, and the argument that Keir Starmer made in the questions with regards to this is that we've already looked into this. We've already looked into this. We've already spent public money on these inquiries. Our job now, our duty is to take action on this. And there was a piece I saw today. We're not covering it here, but there was a piece from Yvette Cooper who was telling the police to take bolder action on child sexual exploitation, and which telling the police get on top of this basically. Which they should be getting on top of it either way. They shouldn't have to. But I guess what they need to do is they need to catch some of these gangs involved to show that they are dealing with it. I think that's what needs to be done, because just to say that to show that they are doing it. It should be dealing with it anyway, but they need to be quicker on this, especially right now when the topic is hot. But Sir Keir accused opposition MPs of jumping on a bandwagon, amplifying what the far right is saying to gain attention. Sir Keir said Labour was addressing child sex abuse after Conservatives' inaction after 14 years. Online debate about grooming gangs have now crossed a line, resulting in threats against MPs, including Safeguard Minister Jess Phillips. He said, this is the problem. Things that Musk said about Jess Phillips was not helpful. We've seen this playbook play many times, whipping up intimidation and of threats and violence, hoping that the media will amplify it, Sir Keir said. Those who are spreading lies and misinformation as far as and wide as possible are not interested in victims, they're interested in themselves, he added. Again, what does Musk know about Britain? What exactly is he going to do to make Britain better? He doesn't know anything about Britain. He's just going by what by people online are saying. He's never been to the towns and cities in the UK. He doesn't know what goes on there. Debate around grooming gangs will reignite this week after it was reported that Phillips rejected Oldham Council's request for a government-led inquiry into historical child sexual exploration in the town in favour of a locally led investigation. The decision was taken in October, but it was first reported by GB News on the 1st of January. Conservative leader Kemi Bagnott accused Keir Starmer of using smear tactics from 20 years ago against those calling for a national inquiry. It's funny how your party was in charge for 14 years and never did a national inquiry either. Funny that. It's almost as if you're taking advantage of a situation for your own personal gain. Someone says 55, good to see you there in chat, hope you're doing well. That such a huge scandal could occur should prompt soul searching and not ranting, that those of us who care about it are the far right, Backenock said. Reports were brief. Sir Keir planned a bold defence of his record and his government, and his comments were the most impassionate that he has been in his time as Prime Minister. Describing child sexual exploitation as utterly sickening, Sir Keir defended his record in office as DDP, saying he tackled the issue head on. I changed the system because I see some of the things that were going wrong, he told reporters. While DPP, Sir Keir introduced a special prosecutor for child abuse and sexual exploitation to oversee convictions. He changed the Crown Prosecution Service (CPS) guidance to encourage police to investigate subjects in complex sexual abuse cases and brought in court reforms aimed at making the process less traumatic for victims. Sir Keir also said he reopened cases and brought by the first prosecutors of an Asian grooming gang in Rochdale and called for mandatory reporting of child sexual abuse. When I left office, we had the highest number of child sexual abuse cases being prosecuted on record, Sir Keir said. The victims have suffered terrible abuse, he said, and that they weren't listened to. Phillips had also done 1,000 times more to protect the victims of child sexual abuse than those attacking her that can even dreamt about, he said. Sir Keir did not name any of those who were spreading lies in the debate, but his comments followed a series of questions about interventions by Musk. And over the past week, the tech entrepreneur has attacked the Labour government over grooming gangs, used his platform on social media site X to accuse Phillips of being a rape genocide apologist and calling for her and Sir Keir to be jailed. What kind of comments like these? How does this help the situation? How does this deal with child exploration? This shows you just how much Musk does not know anything about Britain. He really does not. He's completely out of his debt. Absolutely out of his debt. Musk pushed to oust the PM that could spark diplomatic trouble for Labour. Alongside being one of the richest men in the world, Musk is also a key advisor for the US President-elect Donald Trump. And this is why, and this is the only reason why Sir Keir's not really outright hitting Musk, even though Musk is because of that relationship. And I think once the relationship is sour, maybe their Labour will be a bit more open to attack Musk. But they'll wait until the relationship breaks down, and it will break down at some point between the two. We know it will. They have caught quite a few of these grooming gangs, but the mainstream media won't publish it, as it's mainly white British men and women that were involved, says Bambunk 33. Yeah, that's the problem is the mainstream media. That is true. Thanks for that, Bambunk. Kemi should shut up and go plant some potatoes or something. She would do a better service to the nation. I think she would probably ruin the potatoes more likely, Joe, if she was to do that. But I know Jonathan Gullis hasn't got a job, so maybe fruit picking might be. Maybe fruit picking might be a good thing or something like that. But then again, I think Jonathan Gullis wouldn't know how to use his hands properly, if I'm honest. Musk responded to Sir Keir's comments, calling him utterly despicable. In a series of posts on X, Musk continued to attack Labour figures and the Prime Minister by name. He also condemned what he saw as Sir Keir's description of demands for a national inquiry into grooming gangs as far-right activism, calling it an insane thing to say. While supporting Trump's successful campaign in the US election, Musk has recently shifted his attention to British and European politics, largely supporting insurgent right-wing movements. In the UK, has backed Reform UK, despite recently falling out with its leader Nigel Farage. We'll get to that later. And has come out to support the far-right alternative for Germany, AfD, ahead of the snap election for the country next month. Musk has also called for far-right activist Tommy Robinson to be released from jail, even though Tommy Robinson has blatantly broken the law. Robinson, whose real name is Stephen Yackley Lemon, is currently serving an 18-month prison sentence for contempt of court after admitting he breached an injunction against repeating claims about a Syrian refugee schoolboy. Sir Keir accused those cheerleading Robinson of not being interested in justice and said he would not tolerate discussions and debates on lies. Once we lose the anchor that truth matters in the robust debate, then we're on a very slippery slope, he said. The Liberal Democrats urged the government to summon the US ambassador to address Musk's comments, given his role in the White House administration. The Dem leader said, Ed Davies said, people have had enough of Elon Musk interfering with our country's democracy when clearly he knows nothing about Britain. There have been numerous investigations into systematic rape of young women by organised gangs, including in Rotherham, Cornwall, Derbyshire, Rochdale and Bristol. Sir Keir admitted that many of the victims have been let down by perceived ideas about community relations or by the idea that institutions must be protected above all else, and they have not been listened to and they have not been heard. A Rotherham inquiry uncovered by the sexual abuse of 1,400 children over 16 years, mainly by British Pakistani men. In Telford, up to 1,000 girls face abuse of over 40 years, with some cases overlooked due to nervousness about race, as most suspects were men of South Asian heritage. Conservatives and Reform UK have been calling for statutory inquiry into grooming gangs, but they weren't calling when the Conservatives were in power or when Reform were in, because it didn't matter to them at the time. So they're calling for it now because of political reasons, not because they care about the victims. Last week, Kevin Bagnott said trials taken place all over the country in recent years, but no one in the authority has joined the dots. 2025 must be the year that the victims start to get justice. Again, where were you years ago on this? But Sir Keir dismissed the calls, claiming that Professor Alex Jane's independent inquiry into child sex abuse, the IACSA, was comprehensive. And while he agreed that no stone should be left unturned to end child sexual abuse, Sir Keir insisted that action is now needed, not another review. And this is where, I was a bit torn here. You know, the part here where he says action is now needed and not a review. Well, it's obviously down. That's where you have to leave it to the police to deal with when it comes to this these grooming gangs. And whether or not they will get on top of it or not is the question. The question is, will they get on top of it? And like everything, people will say, well, they're too impatient, they're not rushed, they're not getting on this enough, or this, that, or the other. Well, you know, sometimes things take time to deal with these things. I do hope they get on top of it. I really, really hope so. I really do hope the police get on top of it. You know, because regardless of whatever political party it is, no one should be in such a thing anyway. I'm sure we all agree with that, and it's a terrible, disgusting, and horrible thing. But let me be very, very clear before we go into the next article on him. Like, Elon Musk does not care about the UK. He does not care about you. He doesn't care about ordinary British people. He does not care about the well-being of Britain. He does not want to make Britain great again. This man has only one intention. He just wants power and influence. That's all he wants. That's all he wants. Just like he has in America, he will want it in Europe, and he will want it in the UK. That's all he's interested in. He's not interested in whatsoever in the well-being of the average British person. He's not interested. I cannot stress that enough whatsoever. And he really did lose the plot, didn't he, guys? What happened? What happened to Elon Musk here? This one, back to Sky News. Elon Musk says Farage doesn't have what it takes to as a reform UK leader, describing the comments as a surprise. A dividing line has opened up. The world's richest man and reform leader Nigel Farage over his former support for jailed activist Tommy Robinson. This is really quite shocking. I was just listening to a committee on the petition. I just wanted to put this out there before I talk more about this, and I thought this was funny. Someone, because Nigel Farage was in the committee for the, he's in the committee for the, was in the committee for the petition for calling for a general election. They had that committee hearing today, and Nigel Farage was in it. He spoke, and then someone else spoke later on, basically saying that he's so sorry that Nigel Farage's biggest donor has dropped out on support for his party. Which prompted a massive laughter in the room, which I thought was nice. I'm surprised by this. I'm generally surprised that Elon Musk has taken the decision to not support Nigel Farage specifically, and really back Tommy Robinson. Like, really back Tommy Robinson. You know, the guy who's blatantly broken the law here when it comes to follow British law here. You know, he's demanding his release when he, again, like I said, he doesn't know anything about Britain. And if he understood anything about the laws in Britain, he would know that Tommy Robinson has broken the law. That's a fundamental fact. And Tommy Robinson is far too extreme. And Reform cannot associate themselves. If Reform seriously want to have a chance of gaining more seats, of becoming an opposition party of some sorts, right? They have to distance themselves from Tommy Robinson. I know some people on the right see him as see Tommy Robinson differently and think that he would actually be a help to them. No, they won't. The British public, like, we have some stupid people in the UK, but I wouldn't call the British public as stupid as some Americans when it comes to voting for Trump. You know, I don't think our intelligence is that low, at least not yet. And I'm sorry, I do have to call some Americans stupid. Because they voted for Donald Trump when they're going to be much worse off in the next 4 years, and we'll see it for ourselves. But Reform, if they generally want to seize power, they can't do it with Tommy Robinson. They can't do it with the system that we have in place right now. It's not possible for them, and it will hurt them if they associate themselves, which is why they've distanced themselves from Tommy Robinson. Because they want to be more of a mainstream party, and in order for them to be a mainstream party, they need to break away from the likes of Tommy Robinson, and they know they have to, because if they don't, they're not going to be able to seize power. They need voters with a bit of common sense. They're going to need to win some of these voters over that has a little bit of common sense, and at the moment, you know, as long as if they associate themselves with Tommy Robinson, that's not going to benefit them. And Elon Musk is saying, no, you need to associate yourself with them. And basically saying Nigel Farage hasn't got what it takes, which is incredibly hilarious when literally it wasn't that long ago. They were literally pictured together. Farage was saying wonderful things about Elon Musk. And Elon Musk has pretty much said, no, you're just a bitch. Pretty much. That's pretty much how it comes across to me. Like, it's just so hilarious. And I hope this drags and drags and drags. And I know they hate this. The right hate this. They hate that Nigel Farage, their great and glorious leader, has been smeared by Elon Musk. It's just brilliant. Like, we expected Elon and Trump to break. We didn't expect Musk and Farage to break here. So let's read into this crazy story. So Elon Musk has said Reform UK needs a new leader because Nigel Farage doesn't have what it takes. The ex-owner posted a tweet on Sunday following days of headlines over his comments about the historical grooming scandal that took place across the UK towns and cities more than a decade ago. Although Mr. Musk is in agreement with the Farage and the Conservatives that there should be another national inquiry, the fine line has merged between the tech billionaire and his reform leader over his former support for jailed activist Tommy Robinson. Shortly after Musk's post, Mr. Farage said this: "Well, this is a surprise. Elon is a remarkable individual, but on this, I'm afraid I disagree. My reviews remain that Tommy Robinson is not right for reform, and I will never sell out my principles." Ha ha ha! Nigel Farage says he never sells out his principles, guys. He's a man of principle, apparently. Principle. I'm sure he's a principal. I'm sure Reform UK are principles for all their subscribers as well. You know. I'm sure they are. See, he's been very. I think he was very cryptic here, not to attack Elon Musk, even though Elon Musk attacked him. Mr. Musk, who met Mr. Farage at the end of last year, and reportedly been considering a donation to his party, has been highly critical of the government's response to the historical scandal and argued that the cases of child sex abuse was covered up. His comments about Mr. Farage will be embarrassing to Reform, have been courting to the billionaire and soon to be effective Tsar of the incoming President-elect Donald Trump. As recently as this morning, Deputy Leader Richard Tice claimed that Mr. Musk was popular with the British public. Says who? What, some guy on Twitter? Some guy on Facebook page? Where's popular with the British public based on what? We should ask you. I'll have to check on YouGov on that one. I'm having a very hard time believing that. And was one of the greatest entrepreneurs in history. Okay. When Mr. Farage described him as an absolute hero figure. Hero figure? What has he done that's made him a hero? Mr. Musk has increasingly taken an interest in UK politics and more recently grooming scandal. Yeah, we talked about all that as well. Mr. Musk has endorsed Robinson, who's currently serving an 18-month prison sentence for contempt and tort, claiming that he has been telling the truth about grooming gangs on ex-Ryan Free Tommy Robinson. Yesterday, at the Reform Party conference, Mr. Farage distanced himself from Robinson, saying the jailed activist was not what we need. Stephen Yackley Lennon admitted that Woolwich Crown Court, breached an injunction. 2018, Mr. Farage quit UKIP as party. We know about that. Asked about Mr. Musk's support for Robinson, Mr. Farage told Jimmy News he sees Robinson as one of those people that fought against the grooming gangs. But of course, the truth is Tommy Robinson in prison, not for that, but for contempt of court. So yeah, again, this is very clever here. So he's not attacking Tommy Robinson for the things about the grooming gangs. He's attacking him for his contempt of court. That's what he's being very, very careful, very selective of what he's saying there, Farage. Mr. Farage was also asked about whether he has spoken to tech billionaire in recent days, to which he replied, I haven't spoken to him for some time or a few days. He's tweeting about everything. He's tweeting about farming. He's tweeting about Keir Starmer's incompetence. He's tweeting about Tommy Robinson. He's tweeting about me, Reform UK. There's a whole range of opinions, some of which I agree very strongly with, and others who I'm more reticent about. Asked whether Mr. Trump's support for Robinson was problematic and another potentially damaging for reform, Mr. Farage replied, having him as a supporter is very helpful to our cause. Goodness me, he's an absolute hero figure, particularly for young people in this country. Again, this is just nonsense. Now everyone says, well, what about his comments on Tommy Robinson? But my position is perfectly clear. I never wanted Tommy Robinson to join UKIP, and I don't want him to join Reform UK. Well, I wonder if, and he won't be. I wonder if Elon Musk says, well, I will donate $100 million if you make an MP or something like that. And I wonder what Nigel Farage would say then. Do you think he would take it? I wonder if he would take it. You know, if that got put on the table to him, you know, here's $100 million. I will make sure this goes into your party on the condition that you make Tommy Robinson a member or an MP. Like if he does that, that's a good question. I think that's worth putting a poll up. If would he take that? And I think he probably would, but I don't think it will help their cause of getting power. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, as many of you guys know, this was the day that I know some people obviously are interested in it. Obviously, today is the day where Donald Trump is officially the next president of the United States. It all got approved today. Obviously, the last time last time, the last January the 6th inauguration. Well, not inauguration, but the last one, of course, was not was not as interesting as, well, a bit more interesting, shall we say, when told Donald Trump telling people to riot the capitals and all that kind of stuff. That was pretty horrible, to say the least. Entrepreneur is the French word for fraudster. I'm ready for Trump. I started drinking again, says Simon Says 55. Had to report almost a dozen of GB News videos for it to stop appearing on my feed. Well, Mickey Mouse is also popular as well, I'm sure. Yeah, Mickey Mouse is very popular indeed. Very well said, Joe. Robertson is also an idiot, fascist all over Europe. Mock him. I heard a German call him the drunk English bulldog. Bro, back mountain broke something, and the space Karen is sad. Yeah, if you guys saw, I put a post up on Discord. Like, he's getting riled up. He's really getting riled up, Elon Musk, and he hates it. Musk is one of those people who gets by 1 or 2 or 3 hours sleep a night and is hyped up on various artificial stimulants. He's like a kid after too much sugar, says Stephen Moore. Yeah, he definitely feels like a kid. He doesn't feel like a kid when he's got all this power and money behind him. I do think he's a bit. It does get to him, I think. I mean, genetic accidents they are. The Chancellor of Germany said it all. Do not feed the trolls. These people need to be void of their power. We need to stop their platforms, and we need to get the ride of them calling them out, like the little genetic accidents that they are. I've decided a heroin to get through it, says Ben Shaw. It's going to be 4 years, Ben. It's going to be quite a while, I'm afraid. So, guys, we're about halfway through. Got a couple more stories for you guys here on Snowflake Viewpoint, and let's have a little bit of fun. The UK-US special relationship under Donald Trump is going to be a very, very special one indeed. That's why we decided to get this analysis piece from the Exploding Heads as we loom ever so closer to that lovely relationship.
Minister, you've called him on record a fascist, a demagogue, and a dangerous madman.
I did, yes, but that was before he got into power. Now he's leader of the most powerful country in the world. We're prepared to stand shoulder to shoulder in the hope that he doesn't hurt us.
It is a special relationship between the two nations, isn't it?
It certainly is, yes. And how does a relationship work? By doing what the stronger partner says out of fear. Yes, we strongly believe that if we say nice things to him now he's been elected, then he will definitely uphold the special relationship and we'll be right there alongside him in everything he does. If he is Jabba the Hutt, then we hope to lead the world in taking the role of the giggling monkey thing.
Which of his policies will you stand shoulder to shoulder with him on?
All of them, even the ones that directly contradict each other. Whatever it takes, whether it's hating Mexicans, starting a war with Lithuania, or complaining about the new season of The Apprentice, we stand shoulder to shoulder with him on any random thought that pops into his addled mind during his 4 a.m. bowel movement. Let this be a prosperous new alliance where we agree to everything, no matter how baffling. Look, we're not in the EU anymore. We'll take whatever friends we can get.
Oh dear. That's definitely how it feels like right now. Oh, special relationship, guys. The special relationship. It is a special relationship, guys. So, guys, instead of being a subscriber to Reform UK, where you pay in and you get nothing in return, why don't you consider being a subscriber to me? If you haven't already, hit the like button and share this across social media so others are notified of this live stream. Subscribing to me and really does. You get it for free, by the way. Hitting that subscriber button doesn't cost you anything to doing that. However, if you want to put your money to something a bit more useful rather than Reform UK, consider becoming a YouTube member on here for as little as 99p. And here's the thing, when you decide to become a YouTube member, for as little as 99p. For 99p members, you get access to custom emojis, such as these guys behind me. There is the gang behind me. If I can get round slowly. See the gang behind me? That is Ollie. And the orb has been powered up, guys, this week. The orb has been empowered today. Pingu, the penguin here, has also been here to empower. And for some reason, Cash Dummy has been been disappeared. Oh, I did say he was on a trip today. He told me he was on a trip today. That's why he hasn't turned up. Hopefully he'll be back tomorrow. And the lava lamp empowers us as well in all of its glory. And you can get fancy emojis of all of them, guys, just by being a YouTube member. I'm sure 1 or 2 members will show them off in the comments in due course. As well as that, you also get access to members community posts as well, which is pretty nice. I've got a couple dropping over the next few days, so for members, definitely check them out. And also, whenever you comment on any of my videos as a member, you will get a response from me. It takes a couple of days for me to respond, but I always respond to YouTube members as well. But if you decide to go one step further and become a $1.99 member, you will get early access to additional content. For those who are $1.99 members, they already know they've got those videos because some of them have already commented on the YouTube members videos that are already up before everybody else sees them. So if you want the opportunity to see them as well, do check them out. And be a member for just $1.99. Other ways, if you can financially support me if you want to, is by buying me a coffee. Link for that is in the links tree tab below. Or you can join me on Patreon as well for exclusive content. I got good news as well just before we go to the next thing as well. Rumble has videos dropping every single day this week, Monday to Fridays. One dropped today, and 3 videos are dropping on Patreon this week as well, UK ones as well. So do check them out. I will do a post at some point telling you what the videos are. So if you want to check them out, feel free to do so on both them. Links for Rumble and Patreon is down in the description. And at the end of this live stream, I will be on Discord. So if you want to join me for we chat about anything, feel free to come and join me there as well. Now the plugin is over. Let's go to the next one, guys. A bit away from Elon Musk because he's not important. Stories like these are very, very important. So the private sector's role in cutting the NHS waiting list in England have risen to rise by 20%. So critics decry Sir Keir Starmer's plan as feeding the parasite rather than investing in the public health service. And this, we're going to see an analysis piece shortly as well. But this is really, this is very worrying indeed. That we are using more the private sector to help deal with the problems in England regarding our national healthcare service. Let's be very clear: we do not need to rely more on the private sector, because what we are doing is forcing people to spend it out of their own pocket to get the healthcare they need, and it's not right. I've said this before and I've said this again: healthcare is a human right, and a human right that everyone should be entitled to. America does not have that right, but everyone deserves that right. You deserve that right. As a human being, you deserve access to healthcare. It should be something that everyone should get. And Labour are allowing the private sector to fill the gap in because they don't want to put their hands in their own pockets. They're basically saying the private sector to take over here. And this is very, very worrying indeed. Steve McMahon, thank you for the 10 New Zealand dollars. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate the 10 New Zealand dollars, my friend. I hope you're having a good week. I really appreciate your support. And everybody else who's here as well. And Giles put a link for the Discord if you haven't joined the Discord community as well. It's in the live chat as well on YouTube. For those on Twitch, obviously the chat's not working, so I cannot see your comments at the moment. So I do apologise if you are commenting there. So private hospitals will provide NHS patients in England with as many as a million extra appointments, scans and operations a year as part of a government's drive to end the care backlog. The move represents a significant expansion of the independent sector's role in helping the healthcare service tackle the long waits for treatment that build up under the Conservatives. Sir Keir unveiled the NHS growing use of private healthcare in a major speech on Monday, which is set to carry out his new electric reform plans to address a waiting list for the planned care, of which 6.4 million people are waiting for 7.5 million treatments. Private operators will receive an extra 2.5 billion a year in government funding, taking the total to almost 16 billion. If they deliver the uplift in care and treatment the Prime Minister outlined, the initiative is a key element in a plan intended to ensure that patients no longer have to wait more than 18 weeks for non-urgent hospital care by spring 2029. The independent sector already provides about 5 million outpatient appointments, diagnosis, tests and operations a year to the NHS, about 10% of all its elective activity. Planned further 1 million appointments would increase it by 20%. So this is a graph here from the sources from the Source Guardian graph is from NHS England, and notes It also notes that wait times from consultants led referrals to treatment here. So this is waiting times for treatment, the number of patients waiting for NHS treatment in England by time. So you have less than 18 weeks, 18 to 52 weeks, and more than 52 weeks here. And you can see here it had a dip. There was no one for a long period between 2010. You can see from 2010 for a whole decade, there was barely anyone waiting more than 52 weeks. Almost nothing. Nilch. Nana. And then you see, and then you could see here the 18 to 52s and less than 18. You can see this slowly going up and 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 up. Then obviously we had COVID, so we know the 2020 that bit dip there was COVID. But look at that, it just shot up. And this gap is widening. This gap is widening, and the 18 to 52s was massively widening as well. There's still a chunk there that's getting it, but it's been going up and up and up. All this is going up, and we're getting more than 52 weeks. It's ever increasing as well. This is a problem, and this needs to stop. It's a huge issue. The person pays for it regionally. I thought, like here, where sometimes the private sector performs medical acts for a fixed fee, but the person pays the same he would for public care or nothing. The stats used by the private sector to solve waiting times for the NHS. If it comes directly out, like, here's the thing, right, about the private care sector, right? There are two ways they will make their money. They will either make it from directly from the person that they're treating, or they will take it through the National Healthcare Service. And that basically means taxpayer money paying for their service. Now, my understanding is that the private healthcare that is used within the NHS comes out of the NHS's budget. And that obviously means that it costs more. It costs more to have private healthcare doing it rather than the public healthcare service. It actually, because you are paying private healthcare companies to treat your NHS patients rather because you're unable to treat them. So a lot of money that the National Healthcare Service goes straight into the NHS and goes straight to these private go to the private sector because they have to pay them to do the treatments that they can't do themselves. So it's a sign of the failing National Healthcare Service, and my hope is that this will reverse. But I'm not buying it at all, especially when West Streeting has talked to a lot of private healthcare companies whatsoever. Good evening, Elvis Black. How are you doing, buddy? Hope you're doing well. Works for as long as it's remedies and not a solution. But when they are all solving issues, it is the only solution. Here's the thing. Private healthcare, we don't need the private healthcare to fix this issue. The issue needs to be, we need to be relying less on private healthcare and relying more on public service. We need to invest more in our public service. We need to take the private sector out of it and invest more in our public service. We need to get more doctors and nurses abroad. Yes, we need to train up our own, but we need to get the people in. There shouldn't be, in my opinion, when it comes to the healthcare of people, there should not be a cap on how much we should be spending to ensure that. As long as we are in this situation about the healthcare, as long as we're in this situation, we will never have a working economy. We will never have a working economy, and we will continue to have people stuck at home on benefits because they are unfit and unable to work because of the situation that healthcare is in. It's a terrible cycle that we are stuck in at the moment. The private sector currently receives £12.3 billion a year for treating NHS patients, according to last month's Department of Health and Social Care. So we're giving £12.3 billion a year. Yeah, think of that. That money should be in public hands, not private. Its relationship with the NHS has become so entwined that private hospitals now carry out almost 1 in 5 health service funded operations on people stuck on the waiting list. They've already undertaken about a quarter of all hip and knee replacements performed on NHS patients, and the same proportion and orthodontic interventions such as cardiac removals. The extra capacity that the NHS and independent sector partnerships agreements is expected to produce will help the service cut waiting times for people facing particularly long delays for certain types of care, notable gastrectomy and orthodontic treatment. The deal will encourage longer-term contractual relationships to be established between NHS organisations and private sector providers, the DHSC has said. Starmer said in his speech that he would not let critics of NHS privatisation stop him relying more heavily on the independent sector because people's healths need to come first. Well, it is a choice to go down the NHS privatisation route. When we have waiting lists ballooned to 7.5 million, we will not let ideology or old ways of doing things stand in the way of getting people's lives back on track. It will be a delegation of duty not to use every available resource to get patients the care they so desperately need, he said. But the co-chair of Keep Our NHS Public, Dr. Tony Sullivan, said the private sector was a parasite that was damaging the health service and he would lose out as a result of the deal because its own staff will provide most of the expansion of private care. Just as in the 2000s, the NHS could provide those million appointments and build sustainable capacity if funding was invested to reopen theatres, provide equipment and support NHS GPs, communities and hospital staff, he said. That's value for money, Sir Keir Starmer claims to set ideology aside while choosing to invest expansive long-term private sector contracts. Private spare capacity to rely on NHS staff to funding to resource their expansion. Yeah, this is a problem. We shouldn't be relying on them. Joe Lefty, good to see you there, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Sir Keir Starmer's choice is to ignore the soaring profits enjoyed by the private sectors operating on NHS patients for routine cardiac surgeries, while NHS eye departments lose that funding and their staff are unable to treat many patients with other sight-threatening conditions in time. And this is what happens. More and more the private sector takes this, and it'll get to a point where they'll basically say, why are taxpayers paying for this? Let's just do it via insurance system instead. That's where they'll get. That's the direction we are going. The private sector needs NHS funding to be diverted to, and NHS staff to reduce their NHS hours to staff spare capacity. Feeding the parasite undermines the health of the NHS host. The chief executive of the Independent Healthcare Providers Network, David Hare, said the new government was a clear statement. Said the new agreement was a clear statement from government, the NHS and independent sector that independent providers are a crucial part of the NHS long-term recovery and renewal. BS, you guys are there to make money. You're not there for the purpose of our healthcare service. They are not there because they want to help people. Yeah, let's be very, very clear here. Private healthcare companies have one intention and one intention only, and that is to make money. They do not care about your healthcare. And if they can milk you for £1 or a penny more, they will do so. And that is what they are doing. They are taking so much taxpayer money through the NHS. And it'll get to a point where the NHS will be paying far too much money. Far too much money. And it's all because of private healthcare. That's what it is. It needs to be reversed. It really, really does. We need to separate it. Cannot stress this enough. It is a parasite, as was mentioned in the comments. It is an absolute parasite. And we're going to be going to another parasite in just a moment. Let me just see some of your comments. We need service and money to be invested in some areas needed and not 10 hospitals in the same area because someone does not go to the healthcare instead, says Jal. What Stephen Moore says, there's a large part of the problem, Jal. Many people are clogging hospitals with problems that they should take to their GPs. It's the failure of the GP system which is the problem. It's every you have to remember every department is failing because of the austerity. You know, every department is failing. Every department is failing on it. People here are too used, especially in large cities, to flood hospitals instead of going to where they are told to go to. Health centres is a major stress on the system. The left here is having a field day, counting the number of services closing and sending patients to other services some 5 minutes from the hospital, Jal says. That's Portuguese health service for those referencing what Jal was saying in the comments there. People here, that's in New Zealand, have the option of taking out private health insurance, which means in the case of elected surgeries, they get seen sooner, but it's hellishly expensive. So you can jump the queue, but it takes longer. But I imagine, Steve, that when it comes to emergency services, the healthcare will be there for you if you need it. That's what I imagine there anyway. And the health sector is not happy because doctors and nurses are being forced to relocate to less urban areas. Again, that's in Portugal, Joe was mentioning there. Yeah, private healthcare services are problematic. They are problematic. It's better in the state hand. And trust me, they want to privatise the NHS. They want to. I don't know if Labour wants to privatise it. I don't think they would. They want to, but I feel like they're using it to try it without the means of actually spending more money themselves. But I don't know if it's going to work. Like, I agree with Keir Starmer in saying that we need to deal with the healthcare crisis, because without a functioning healthcare system, we need to deal with the backlog. You know, it does need to be. I do agree with that. But I said by the end of this year, we want to see an improvement. We want to see the waiting list go down. If it's not gone down by the end of the year, it means it's not that what their plan is. Their plan is not working. Because by the end of the year, if it's not working, then it means that they are relying too much on the private healthcare, and they're throwing too much money at him. They're throwing too much money at them. That's what I think it will be coming down to. And this is another crisis. And we've talked about this before, but this is just reinforcing this message with regards to the water industry. This is exclusive from My News. The water industry attempts to influence Labour MPs amid the sewage anger. Campaigners have raised concerns about the revolving door between Labour and the water sector. Water UK has hired Tony Blair's former Minister Ruth Kelly left, while Minister Mary Crellin Middle worked for a lobbyist, and Lee Pincher MP right as a senior role at Yorkshire Water. That tells you everything you need to know. Labour are in bed with the water companies. So that's why they won't nationalise them. And we've already said about how we need to nationalise them. But yes, guys, Labour are, and they're pretty much, yeah, when you see these connections, you can't tell me there's not a connection here. So let's read this exclusive. So several Labour MPs, including the Environment Minister, have worked for firms with close ties to the water industry, raising fresh concerns over the revolving door between Westminster and corporate lobbying. The links between the water sector and some Labour MPs or former ministers have led campaigners to call for more transparency in Westminster, at a time when the government is under increasing scrutiny over its handling of the privatised industry. Ministers are under pressure to tackle sewage pollution, rising water bills, and large payments to shareholders or directors of water companies. Before being elected this July, Environment Minister Mary Craig worked for an influential lobbying firm which lists as clients water utilities and margarine. The controversial former owner of Thames Water is now the majority owner of Southern Water. Definitely nothing to see here. Lee Pincher, the new Labour MP for Doncaster East, is now chair of the All-Parliament Parliamentary Group, APPG, on water, which arranges meetings in Westminster between politicians and the water sector. Although there is no record of any events organised by this APPG since the election, the group, which describes itself as one of the most active in Parliament, has received £57,000 from trade body Water UK and other water firms since 2020. No conflict of interest there at all, guys. No conflict of interest, right? Pincher, who has worked in the water industry for many years, held a senior role with Yorkshire Water at a time when it discharged untreated sewage into the region's rivers. The watchdog announced plans to fine the company $47 million earlier this year and said it had failed to invest in its networks. Another Environment Minister, Daniel Zielinski, who is responsible for rural affairs, hosted a reception on behalf of Anglian Water in November 2023 while he was Shadow Minister. Oh, what a funny story that is. Flora Anderson, now a Northern Ireland minister, hosted a drink reception on behalf in Parliament on behalf of Water UK in October 2022, which was about banning plastics in wet wipes. There is no suggestion of any MPs or ministers to have broken any parliamentary rules. Oh no, I'm not suggesting they're breaking any parliamentary rules at all because of the system of work. What I'm suggesting is that they're in bed with the water company. That's what I'm saying. Earlier this month, Ofwat, the water regulator, agreed to let water bills rise by an average of 36% by 2030, and to date, the Labour government has been resisting calls to renationalise the industry despite growing anger at the failure of the privatised sector. A Labour spokesperson described any suggestion that the government is going soft on the water sector as complete nonsense, saying it has taken the toughest action against water companies in history. Yeah, it's so tough that nothing has changed since they've come into power. Nothing has changed on them. And by the way, it's saying that they're not gone soft. They've allowed the water bills to go up this year as well. And again next year. And the year after that. Labour has come under pressure from the Liberal Democrats reform and campaigns to put Thames Water, which is on the brink of collapse, under special administration. Essentially a form of temporary nationalisation, but has said it favours a private sector solution. The government has argued that nationalisation would be time-consuming and hugely expensive at a time when public finances are stretched. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. I've said this before and I've said this again. If a government tells you they do not have money, they are lying to you. They always have money. They always have money. However, campaigners are worried about the perceived close links between Labour and water companies and firms lobbying on their behalf. Creme is now a Minister for Nature after becoming Labour MP for Coventry East in the July 2024 election. Used to work for the lobbying firm Lexington that has close links to the Labour Party. Lexington's co-founder and executive director Mike Craven is also director of the influential think tank Labour Together, which has played a big role in shaping party politics. As well as Creed and two other newly elected Labour MPs worked for Lexington, including Steve Race, who is now the MP for Exeter, and Oliver Ryan, the MP for Burnley. How many MPs have they got under their wing? Labour sources claim Crease and Rice did not work for the water industry while they worked for Lexington, which represent dozens of other corporate clients. Yeah, of course. Of course, there's no connection whatsoever, guys. More than 15,000 people attended a march for the clean water last month, according to organisations. Bring water into public ownership from the campaign group We Own It. Well said, guys. Well said. As well as Pincher, the new Labour MP for Ossett and Deanbury Dale, Jane Botterill, also used to work for Yorkshire Water. But wait, there's more. She was the company's corporate affairs advisor before joining Portland's Communications, which lobbied for Southern Water earlier this year. Other Labour politicians who work for the lobbying companies with water firms as clients including Melanie Ollen, MP for Grimsbury and Clisworth, and Gregor Pollington, I'm going to botch names, I know, MP for Livington. On worked for Blakely and Pollington for Headland Consultancy. Both firms listed Angela Waters as clients. What a coincidence! It's just a coincidence that Labour are linked here to water companies, guys. It's just a coincidence. I wonder if someone's going to bring up these questions, Prime Minister's questions to Labour groups. The water industry has also grown its ties to the party by hiring former MPs and staff members. Water UK hired former Labour Minister Ruth Kelly as its chair in March, and has hired Global Council, a lobbying firm founded by Peter Mandelson, a Labour grenadier and Britain's new ambassador to the US. Other Labour figures have worked for the water industry includes Tony Blair's former Environment Minister Ian Pilson, who is a director at Thames Water. The water industry has been lobbying against nationalisation and argues that private finance has brought in large amounts of money for investment in infrastructure. It's brought in so much investment for infrastructure, guys. So much has been brought in for investment in infrastructure that you've not seen a single amount of that money of investment in infrastructure into the water industry. Kat Hobbs, founder and director of company campaign group We Own It, said the public should be asking why public ownership of water has been ruled out by the Labour government. She says a recent announced wide-ranging reviews of the water industry can look at every aspect of the industry and make a suggestion for improvements, except those who should own water. Sewage and water companies' executive remunerations of 2023-2024. Look at all these base pay, pensions, benefits. Look at all this money they're making. What the hell is that? Bonus, benefits and incentives, guys. All these. Look at all that money. I wouldn't mind some of that money. You think I could make a good executive for one of these companies, huh? 3.3 million. Absolutely disgusting. Total for England and Wales, 9 million. 9 million pounds. And it's going up. And look at England and Wales, Scottish Water. Tells you everything you need to know right there. Oh, look, hold on. Pensions, negative 75,000. Just to add insult to injury. Hobbs added, the public are rightly concerned when they see a revolving doors of Labour politicians moving around the water industry to Parliament and back again. Any serious review into water must include a comprehensive investigation into the real costs and benefits of public ownership, and anything less is failing the public. Environment Secretary Steve Reed has said private finances need to tackle the sewage crisis and dismiss suggestions of nationalisation. Steve Goodwood, head of research and investigation Transparency International UK, said MPs must be open and candid about their interests and resolve any conflicts that arise between the public role and public affairs. He said when any industry has close links to the heart of Westminster, particularly one such as public importance, it raises concerns over their potential influence over government policy. Clive Lewis, Labour MP for Norwich South, said nationalisation was popular among the public and warned that Labour could be perceived as being in the pockets of industry if it does not change its stance. He said people voted Labour for change. And that's what they've got is, well, there's nothing we can do. You're the government. Do something about it. This act. He said water bills and environmental damage are increasing now, but the government was opting for a review process which could take years. Water UK, Jane Bothwell, Lee Pitcher, Melanie Olgun, basically all the names, did not respond to requests for comment. Steve Race declined to comment. A Labour spokesperson described concerns about conflict of interest and the potential influence of the water industry over its policies as complete nonsense. All right, so everything that Labour... So yeah, if you not deny what they're saying here. You can't... I'm sorry, Labour, you cannot fucking bullshit me in telling me that there's not a conflict of interest with all the information that the iPaper has just brought up. I'm sorry, you cannot tell me that there's not a conflict of interest here. This Labour government has taken the toughest action against water companies in its history. Well, really, taking so much tough action that you've allowed them to raise prices. Bullshit. We are imposing tough new special measures to ban polluting water bosses, bonuses, and making them face criminal charges if they keep breaking the law. We are going further with the largest independent commission to keep the sector since privatisation, which will fundamentally reset the industry and ensuring it works for consumers and the environment. Again, bullshit. Don't trust them. The Department of Environment through Rural Affairs declined to comment and referred the papers to Labour's response. Yeah, because they don't know how to respond. Lobbying firms Lexington, Portland, Blackley, and Headlake did not respond to requests for comments. This is a very good piece from the iPaper, and well done for them for bringing this to our attention. A very good piece from them. Yeah, it just shows you that they are in the pockets of water companies. They are in the pockets of water companies. It's very sad to say, but yeah, that's why they won't nationalise it. And they should. They know they should, but they're not going to because they're in the pockets of them. Arguably, all the profits paid out as dividends instead of being used for maintenance and development should be discounted for the purchase price when renationalising, says Geordie K. Yeah. There are ways of getting around the debts that they have as well, which we've talked about as well. The deal smells as bad as the waterways in England, says Jow. Yep. A lot of money has gone out to shareholders. Not much has come in. Exactly, Steve. 100%. Break of contract traditions, they are not providing the service that it was contracted by the government. Hence, nationalise now, deal with the court cases later. The shareholders of those companies can wait, says Jow. Yep. I usually agree with people who say all MPs are crooks, but it's becoming harder to do so. I'm also hyperactive, still more. I'm not an idiot like Musk. I only have a beer once every a while, says Jow. This must be the trickle down effect, yeah. Yeah, you scratch my back, I scratch yours, sort of thing. This is what it is. That's what it's all about, scratching each other's backs, yeah, for their benefit. We'll give you a lot of money. We'll give you a place. We'll give you a job role with us or something. Yeah, they don't need to hand over cash to them. They just give them a job in their company or whatever, and they get paid a salary, and that's how they buy their influence. We'll give you like a sec. You're allowed a second job. We'll give you a second job in something. It's too much influence, guys. Too much influence. The last story I got for you guys is from The Independent, and it's a story that won't go away, I'm afraid. John Healey admits the UK has not had any talks with Trump's team over the crumbling Chagos deal. Donald Trump's team is looking for a way to veto the deal as a result of concerns over possible Chinese interference. There has been no Chinese interference. This is so much nonsense. Like, really, China has had no... I don't know where this idea of China interfering with the islands has come from. It's absolute hogwash. It's all started by the Conservatives. They started the negotiations. The UK was told by the UN and by the international courts that they had to give the islands back to its people. It's not the UK's. And I've heard idiots in my comments try to make the arguments that it's anti-British or something, that to give the islands back, to give these islands to these people, saying that they were British the whole time and they've always been British and whatnot. It's like, no, go read the history. They took the islands from the people. They're not our islands. They're not our lands. I mean, like, and you're supposed to respect international laws at the end of the day, which they're not doing as well. Dear, oh dear. So the UK has not had any discussions with the incoming Trump administration over the crumbling Chagos Island deals. The Defence Secretary has admitted amid growing concerns over the future of the agreement. While the outgoing Biden administration supported the deal, Donald Trump's team is looking for a way to veto it as a result of concerns over the possible Chinese interference. The Chagos Islands is part of Britain-Indian Ocean territory and is seen as strategic importance to the Southeast Asia, as America uses a joint UK-US base on Diego Garcia for ships and long-range bombers. Asked to outline exactly what discussions have been between ministers and the incoming Trump administration on the future of the Diego Garcia base, John Healey admitted that no talks have yet taken place. So America's not talking about it right now. The system in the US is very different to ours, the Defense Secretary told the House of Commons. The administration is that is in place at the present, or is not at the present is in place until the Inauguration Day on January 20th. That will be the point we will see UK government start to pick up direct discussions with the incoming administration. Yeah, I don't know why people are basically saying something about. I don't know why questions are being asked about this now when they should wait until the Trump administration has settled in before talking about it, to be fair. The relationship with the US is the closest security ally. We will work with them to ensure we continue to do that. Trump's National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz, has been highly critical of the deal last year, saying, should the UK seize control of the Chagos to Maduros, I have no doubt that China will take advantage of the resulting vacuum. Meanwhile, Mr. Trump's nominee for Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, described the deal as concerning as it would provide an opportunity for communist China to gain valuable intelligence on our naval support facility at Maduros. I mean, it's just some islands in the middle of the ocean, like, for crying out loud. Why can't we just leave it with the people there? They're really making a big faff over nothing over this. They really, really are. Mr. Henley's latest admission comes amid growing concerns over the future of the deal, after the new Meridian government rejected Sir Keir Starmer's deal over Christmas. Oh yeah, they had a change in government as well, didn't they? The deal, which would cease sovereignty over the islands but lease back the strategic importance UK-US military base on Diego Garcia, was negotiated with the previous administration. But after taking power, the new PM, Naveen Rolgam, said he would not finalise the agreement as it would not produce the benefits the nation could expect. He said the new Moradian administration has submitted its own suggestions to the UK, which has now responded with its counter-proposals. Over Christmas, Mr. Rolgam said there were still parts of the agreement which he did not agree with, while the country's Deputy Prime Minister said Britain was quibbling over a small amount of money in last-minute talks to save the deal. It came after the Independent revealed that the Moradian government has ordered an independent review of the agreement, throwing the future of Sir Keir Starmer's deal into even greater uncertainty. There is also growing concern over the cost of the controversial deal to the British taxpayer, as the government has refused to reveal how much money has been offered to Maduros as part of the agreement. I'm sorry, but as a British taxpayer, I'm entitled to know what's been offered. However, the Prime Minister and his Foreign Secretary David Lammy has insisted they have no choice but to hand over the islands. The government has repeatedly said that the deal is a good deal that protects both the US and UK national security interests and secures long-term protection of the base at Diego Garcia. Yeah, the deal they got is for at least for 100 years. At least for 100 years. But, yeah, I just think that the Trump administration coming in are going to scupper the deal. I just think they're going to scupper the deal, if I'm honest, guys. And considering the new Moradian government as well, they're not going to... Clearly, they're not happy with the deal. So it just means that Britain are going to face some kind of... get a fine or something for not pushing ahead with this story, pushing ahead with getting this deal done. But the problem is, if they're not going to agree to it, if the new administration aren't going to agree to it, then Biden and Britain and the UK in the US can't really stomp it down without their agreement. So unfortunately, this is a story that's probably going to hit dead in the water, and everyone's going to say, "Ha! Britain keeps its sovereignty," and it's going to be like, "Well, it's not ours. It's not. Their lands do not belong to us." No worries, Stephen. Well, thanks for popping in. Appreciate it. Yeah, it just shows you that a company owned by its citizens that gets the best service at a lower cost. Well done, Scottish Water. Oh, we know our water bills are part of our council tax. There we go. So you're not even paying an actual water bill because it's part of your council tax anyway. Arguably, all the profits paid out as dividends instead of being used for maintenance and deployment should be discounted for the purchase price when renationalising. Oh, I said that earlier, sorry. Reagan and Thatcher left us trickle-down joke, but only the UK and the US still insist with it, says Jow. Yeah. Yeah, and Liz Truss wants to take it further, obviously. Absolutely crazy person as well. So guys, just before we end the live stream and we'll head over to Discord, got one more funny video for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this funny video from Matt Green Comedy. And he asked, who will Elon Musk give his money to? So obviously, now there seems there no... I don't know if he's going to be giving the money to, but maybe he will give his money eventually to... maybe we will give them to the Conservatives instead. Let's hear this debate then, shall we?
Elon Musk wants to give Reform £100 million. We won't say no. Is he really thinking about giving that much? Well, 100, 80, 50, 20, who knows? We're not greedy. What? Well, we're not cheeky. Whatever he gives will be much appreciated. And in any case, it would be the largest political donation in this country's history. What can I say? We're very special. It's interesting you say that, because until recently, you were a strong advocate for the Conservatives. Yes, but then I saw the light and realised there was more money in Reform. I mean, I agreed with them about a lot of things. Such as immigration. And getting money from Elon Musk. You're not the only party petitioning him. In fact, some of your former colleagues are also asking him for cash. Isn't that right, Jeffrey?
Yes, I think Mr. Musk should think very carefully about who he gives his money to. These reform types are just a flash in the pan. We in the Conservative Party have decades of experience in taking money from rich people.
Come on, Jeffrey, you're old news. We're the new thing. Anti-woke, anti-immigration.
We're that too.
Yes, but our leader is in with Trump and Elon.
We can do that too. I mean, I love Elon. I even call Twitter X. I love crypto, and I even have an electric car.
Is it a Tesla?
No, have you seen the prices? But I'd be very grateful to receive a free one.
So if he does give you this money, what will you do with it? Campaigning, advertising, on X, obviously, hair and makeup for Nigel's TikToks, that sort of thing.
Yes, we do all that too, apart from the Nigel thing. But what else? Memes, he loves a meme, doesn't he? We do a lot of memes.
Maybe we'll introduce him to a royal.
That's our thing.
Which royal? Well, Prince Andrew for starters, but that's not much of a get these days. He'll meet with anyone. And if Musk's money helped you get elected, what would you do in power?
Tax cuts on Teslas.
Replace the BBC with X.
Make it illegal not to follow him on X.
And mandatory to laugh at his jokes.
Slash immigration, except from South Africa.
Pay everyone in Dogecoin.
Make him a lord.
Make him king.
I'll give him a massage.
Is this not all a bit grubby? British politicians asking a wealthy foreigner for funding. Look, he's a very rich and powerful man.
Indeed, he's already having a lot of influence in America.
But who elected him?
Money did.
So are you saying that if you have lots and lots of money, you should automatically be given political power wherever and whenever you want it?
Yes. Where have you been for the last forever?
I thought you were against people from overseas getting involved in British politics. I mean, in the past you've attacked people from Angela Merkel to George Soros to Barack Obama to Bill Gates for sticking their noses in. What's changed? Well, Elon's on our side.
Or our side.
Come on, Jeffrey, we're not that different. Let's have a drink and talk about it.
Only if you're buying.
Well, as I'm a blue tick on X, Elon is. Thank you, gentlemen. Now let's turn to the Labour Party. What are you planning on doing about all this?
Well, it's quite fun watching them fight, isn't it?
But does Musk's influence worry you? He's consistently attacked the Prime Minister and promoted far-right misinformation.
All I'll say is that the UK is open for business.
Do you mean for sale?
That is Labour. We're open for business. We're open for business. Obviously, that was before. The fallout. Obviously, but it's not good, guys. It's not good. It's not good. We might as well have a laugh about it too, as well. That is for sure. So guys, if you want to come and join me on the Discord chat, thanks Jow for providing the link for it. You're more than welcome to do so. I will be in the Snowflake after chat. I will ping the Discord server momentarily when I'm on there. So if you guys want to come and hang out and talk about anything, you're more than welcome to do so. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's come along. Thank you guys for all your comments as well. Thank you Stephen McMullen for the 10 New Zealand dollars as well. I know he's gone already, but appreciate you guys' support. We didn't hit the we didn't hit the super chat goal today, but that's fine. Maybe we'll hit it tomorrow. We'll try again tomorrow to see if we can hit that goal, so that we can, and if we do, we'll have another Q&A live stream on Friday. So if you want to have that, we'll see if we can hit that goal tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see. Just a reminder, guys, I will be back live tomorrow at 7 p.m. for the Snowflake Corner, so do join me for that as we cover news from outside the UK. Obviously, we'll be covering the announcement of the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. I think I said his surname properly. Probably not. He's stepping down after 10 years now. He's been a Canadian Prime Minister. Massive change there for him. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens to Canada going forward there. And obviously we'll talk a little bit about the about today, what's happened at the White House with the Trump being officially appointed as well. The inauguration's is only 14 days away at the time of this recording as well. We also have Wednesday Prime Minister's questions will be back, so I will be covering that at 12 on Wednesday, 12 p.m. So do join me for that, and do join me for the Snowflake Watch Wednesday afternoon as well. As for Thursday, I currently have no plans for a live stream right now for it, but that could change. I could do an old-fashioned Snowflake conflict or something potentially for you guys. So I may add a live stream for that Thursday. So not if I do, it'll be a last-minute thing if I do, guys. But yeah, thank you guys for all your comments. Thank you guys for coming along and supporting me. And I will see you guys on the Discord. But if I don't see you guys there, hopefully I will see you guys tomorrow. But just before I go, I have one last thing to say. If you haven't already, please hit that like button on your way out. It would be greatly appreciated. Share this across social media so others are notified of this live stream. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing, because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further and financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.